Hi, my name is Donna Swanson, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Focus Center for Autism and the Fresh Start School. We've been in existence for 21 years now and providing services to the autism community. We have many different programs. We have the Fresh Start School, which is a state-approved special education program that's in its 5th year and doing wonderful. We also have 2 residential programs, a group home in Barkhamsted for youth with autism and trauma, and then we have a supportive housing program in Torrington, and that's also for young adults and some adults with autism and trauma. And we're very proud of the work that we have been providing for the last 21 years and have definitely made an impact on a lot of different people's lives. I still hear from people that have been in the program 21 years ago. So we're sort of like the place that is the community and the comfort zone for many people, and they still remember us years later. We have a Facebook page. Would love it if you would like us on Facebook, and we can't thank Nutmeg enough for letting us do our Life on the Spectrum. And today our special guests are Delia Thomas and her son Kyle Skora Thomas. And Kyle, we're doing something different today, and Delia is going to be actually educating us on something that's called CVI, and I'm going to let her explain it all. And Kyle, I've only known Kyle for a mere 10 to 12 years, and when I started with Kyle, he was just a little sprout, and now he's a big sprout, like a big bean sprout, nice and tall, 6'1", makes us look like dwarfs. But I'm very proud of Kyle because this is definitely stepping out of his comfort zone. He may talk, he may not talk. I do have questions to ask him. He wrote down his answers, and either he'll answer them or Mom will answer them, and that's just how we're going to roll today. So we hope that you enjoy this, and we hope that you find out some good information, because to be honest, I never heard of this before, and I'm looking forward for my teacher, Delia, to explain it all to us in nice, simple words.
Great. Thank you, Donna. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about CVI, which is also known as cortical vision impairment, or in Europe they call it cerebral vision impairment. It was first identified in World War I in the trenches when soldiers were getting head injuries. And so it's been around for a long time, and but many people don't know about it. And when I say many people, I'm including ophthalmologists, optometrists, teachers of the vision impaired, people you would think that would understand and know about CVI don't. And what does that mean? That means many kids and many adults are not getting diagnosed, and they're not getting the interventions that they need to be able to be successful in their lives.
My question for you is, how did you know about it?
So I found out about it on Facebook. One of the things that, and first of all, Kyle has been diagnosed with CVI. My daughter Sierra has also been diagnosed with CVI, and they both have the autism diagnosis.
Right.
So Kyle was diagnosed 2 years ago. We thought for many years he had a certain genetic disorder, and part of that genetic disorder means that you have CVI. But when we tested him for that genetic disorder, he didn't have it. So we went back in his records, because Kyle was adopted when he was a baby, and it turned out that when he was 3 months old, he had a life-threatening incident where he stopped breathing for more than 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, you have catastrophic brain trauma. So, and we don't know, the records are gone, because he was 14 and it had been 14 years since he had it. So, but the interesting thing is that when we look back, many of the issues he had as a baby, many of the issues he had when he was little, we can now pinpoint on CVI.
What issues?
So, for example, he was terrified of walking on snow. He was terrified. He would walk on only very firm surfaces. When surfaces changed, he had problems. Sunlight, any kind of bright light in his face freaked him out, major meltdowns. He would have, he didn't start walking until he was over 2 years old. He was very attracted to bright blue and bright red. So his favorite toy was this annoying Santa that was bright red and had glowing red eyes that blinked on and off and would jump up and down and sing. And he would, that motivated him to do things.
Right.
But that was it. And he didn't like to do things that other children like to do. Like he didn't paint, he didn't draw, he didn't do puzzles, he didn't play with Legos. What he really liked to do was throw things. And he threw everything. He threw books, he threw clothes, he threw pillows, he threw everything. And he would throw things. And that's part of CVI is the movement they can see. And it turns out, people say to us, well, if he has a severe vision impairment, why is it that he can ski really well, he can ride his bike? Because Kyle, and he reports this, he sees better when he's moving. And when we're in the car, he can see the smallest sign and read it. Yet he has trouble reading a page right in front of him. So, being in school was difficult because having to sit still, so anyway, so that, that was part of how we came to figuring out what Kyle had with CVI. And I will say, partly because no one knows about it, it took us 3 years to get a diagnosis. We finally ended up at Perkins School for the Blind. They have a low vision clinic, and we were able to, last year, get a definitive diagnosis, even though we knew before that he had it.
I have a quick question for Kyle, and you can give me thumbs up or thumbs down. Does knowing that you have CVI, does that help you? Good. So we'll let Mom keep continuing. But
So
I'm glad to hear you say that.
right. So I wanted to read. There's a blog that just started. A wonderful person who is a CVIer, and I'm using that because they use that to describe themselves. It's not. And it's called the CVI Perspective, and they wrote this about. They wrote a blog on social anxiety, which Kyle struggles with, and they wrote, CVI warps and distorts the visual world. When the world is warped and distorted, it takes on a creepy, haunted feeling. CVI is like living in a permanent funhouse. People feel wrong and out of place visually. Everything feels off kilter. The world takes on an ominous feeling. Visual stimuli that are neutral or pleasant to the sighted can take on a disturbing and unsettling quality when you have CVI. And that really says a lot because many children with CVI have lots of anxiety. They have many of them have tantrums, many of them have, and that's why a lot of them are diagnosed with autism. They have sensory issues. Noise can disrupt their vision. So it's been known that children with CVI, when it's really loud, their vision shuts off and they're like completely blind.
So how do you get the diagnosis?
So you need to go to someone who can do a functional vision exam.
Okay.
So, and the difference, one of the things they say is, there's ocular vision impairment, which is to do with the eyeballs and like the nerve, the optic nerve. And that's where you go to an ophthalmologist, you go to an optometrist, and it's acuity. So you get 20/20 vision, you get 22,000, people have. But CVI is exclusively brain issues.
Okay.
Which is really important because the eyeballs don't really mean anything if the brain can't interpret what the eyeballs see. Yeah, so you would think that it makes sense that they go hand in hand, but no, there's been this real divide. Ophthalmologists we treat diseases of the eye. Yep. We don't treat brain. But then neurologists don't really deal with this either. So it really is an orphan disease. And There are people who are out there who are really devoted. We're really lucky that in Connecticut we have a teacher of the vision blind called Matt Tejan, who's really committed to helping kids with CVI, and has done lots of research and is out making videos and really getting the word out. There's a doctor, an optometrist up at Harvard, Dr. Lotfi Marabat, who is working with the NIH and has and is doing a lot of research. In fact, we're going up there next week to work with him. Kyle's going to be working with him, and these are terrific people. I mean, to have them in our court is going to change everything. So, and
an orphan disease or disorder means that there's not that many people that have it, so it doesn't always get the attention that it should, correct?
Right, except that the problem is that it is the most common vision impairment in children in the Western world.
So it shouldn't be considered an orphan?
It shouldn't, no, it shouldn't be considered. It should be treated as, Dr. Marabat said, this is a health crisis that no one knows about. I mean, it is, and when you think, there is a research study that just came out of Bristol University in the United Kingdom. They're a little bit ahead of us with research. When they tested thousands of children, 1 in 30 children had CVI. And when they tested children who were struggling with learning, 2 in 10. That's significant. I mean,
yes.
when you look at it, autism is 1 in 58,
right.
And that's a health crisis. 1 in 30, and there's nothing being done about it. People aren't being trained. The schools. So anyway, there are a lot of parents who go for years. A parent on one of my Facebook feeds, her son is in his 30s and just got diagnosed. Another parent, her daughter is 23. My daughter is 24 and just got diagnosed. I mean, and this is, it's not like we haven't been saying, there's something wrong for years.
So how is the treatment or the approach different than it would be for autism? Or is it?
It is different because autism, you're dealing with, let's say they have sensory issues, they have behavioral issues, and so you teach them how to deal with their environment, you teach them. With CVI, it's accessibility, okay? So when you can't see something, you can't learn it, right? I mean, 90% of our learning is through vision, 90%.
Wow.
And if everything you see is distorted, if everything you see is out of focus, or for many children, they can see it, but they can only see it for a short period of time, and they get what they call CVI fatigue, and they're so exhausted, they just can't see anymore. So maybe they can read for 5 minutes. I remember when my daughter was little, she'd be reading a book, she was learning how to read. And she could read the word on the first page, she could read the word on the second page. By the third page, she couldn't read it anymore.
And that was fatigue, or?
It's fatigue, it's visual fatigue. Their brain literally is like, we're done. We're done. And then you have a big part of CVI is complexity. So what does that mean? It means that most classrooms are a nightmare for children with CVI. Because it's too busy.
Yep.
You've got 29 other children, and they're all moving around, and then you've got things on the walls, and then you've got chairs and desks, and it's visually complex. And what happens is that these children, they're processing everything. They can't block anything out. So,
which is also similar to autism too.
Right, yeah. And they're also saying there's many people that feel that, it's so lined up. Children with CVI don't give eye contact. Children with CVI need rigid routines, because they essentially memorize everything. Kyle has no problem walking through our house. If you saw him, you'd think he was fully sighted. But you put him in a new environment, and he has a really hard time. Walking in a store, I always laugh and say that Kyle uses me as his guide dog, right? Because he stands right behind me, and he won't walk in front of me, or he'll stand behind his dad, or whoever he's with, he walks behind them because he's relying on them to help him get through the environment.
And Kyle, when I'm smiling or laughing that you do that, it's because you found a coping mechanism. You found, by having your parents be your guide dogs, you found a way to be successful in the store and to be successful in places. So that is awesome. Yes, my thumb is up on that.
Right.
Actually, I'm going to give you 2 thumbs up on that.
So and the accessibility is really important. For example, Kyle's really smart, but has struggled with school and not made great progress despite being in good schools, despite having really intensive. And then last year, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And he was working at home. We built a little cubicle for him with nothing in it. He just had his computer and his tutors. And boy, boom. He's
Learning
done
well.
best year ever academically, and happy and relaxed and
Tell us about his reading. It went up how many levels?
2 grade levels in a year.
So basically that's where COVID sort of was a hidden gem for you, because
absolutely.
it made him have to be able to work from home. You were able to structure an environment. And
Right. I mean, when you think about it, if you're working so hard just to walk across the classroom, you're not going to have the energy, either mentally or physically, to, look and learn about what that muscle is or what that bone is, or, and another thing is the brain is really complex, as we all know, and vision isn't just like the picture goes in and it goes to one part of the brain and we know what that
Right.
is. It goes through multiple different areas of the brain and it picks up information, you have files, here's a cat. Oh, I saw a cat before, so now I'm relating it. And, your brain is incredibly complex in vision. It's very complex. And when those pathways are disturbed, you may not get all the information. So there's it affects everyone
layers
different.
Of this.
Yes, and it affects, there's what they call dorsal stream and ventral stream, which are different pathways that the brain uses to see for vision. So, and some people may just have ventral stream, some people may just have dorsal stream, some people may have both. So what happens with they have different aspects of it, and everyone. So, for example, Sierra and Kyle both have CVI, and they both see differently.
Mm-hmm.
They both have, their issues are different. It's very much like autism.
Right.
And I think this is why it gets
No
all
two people are
confused.
alike, right?
Right. When you know someone with autism, you know one
person with autism. So when you know someone with CVI, you know one person with CVI.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that we get Kyle's questions, because I'm not sure how much time we have. So if we could get Kyle's questions and then go back, and then you can tie it up with what you want to tie it up with.
Okay.
So Kyle, my questions to you are: CVI can make it hard to see things. How does it make it hard for you? And Kyle is giving Mom the signal that you want her to answer, correct? Correct. All right.
So he says, when I see new people driving on the road, I cannot see them, and it's also hard for me to see it. Okay? Is that because you can only see a little bit at a time? Is that right? So you have simultanagnosia, which is a type of CVI, which means you can only see part of things. So when you're looking at a cat, you may only see the ears.
Okay.
And what you have to do is you have to build the picture.
This
every
has
time
to
you
be
look
so
at something.
frustrating, and
Right.
I'm so glad that they're finally onto this.
Right.
Because Delia, you have done extraordinary work for helping your children, and it's like one stone keeps turning over to another, and just when you think you have it, then you find something else.
Right,
So.
and I think this is where it becomes really important, where diagnosis is really, as a parent, you're with your child 24/7, and you see them in many, many different environments, and it's important, and many of us are brushed off You know, we go to the doctor, we go to the eye doctor. You know, I took Sierra to an eye doctor and he told me, oh, she sees better than me. But then why does she fall down the stairs? Why does she fall all the time and hurt herself? Like, she can't see. She, you know, so anyway. Okay, so the next one, what was your next question?
When you are trying to look at something like schoolwork, should it be quiet or can it be noisy?
When I'm trying to look at schoolwork, it should be quiet and not so noisy.
And
so when mom's in the kitchen making things, does that make it hard to learn? Yes.
It distracts you, right? Many with CVI have a hard time seeing and listening at the same time, so things like movies are hard. Do you find this hard for you too? Yes?
Yes, I do find it to be hard for me because it makes me tired.
Yeah.
So, you know, watching a movie with the noise and the vision is, you know, he tends to, and many children with CVI tend to like the small screens.
Yep.
Makes it easier because then they can, and they usually hold them like this far from their face.
Really?
So they're blocking everything else out, so they're only seeing that.
Which is like a horse with blinders. That's what they.
Right,
they do to make the world smaller.
Right,
you know?
for them, yeah, and they're not overwhelmed.
They can't take in all of that information.
Right, and also I think, you know, like for example, Kyle will replay things multiple times.
So that he gets to
because
see
he's
it.
only seeing a bit of it at a time, and he needs to build the picture. So he may watch something, the same scene, 50 times.
Yeah.
So, but then again, people think that's autism, right?
Right.
They're playing it over and over
Right.
and over again. So anyway.
Kyle, you like to ride bikes and ski and is it easier to see when you're moving, and what else helps make it easier to see?
Yes, I do find it to be hard. Oh, no, sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Yes, it is easier for me to see when I'm riding my bike because I can see all of the trees. Can you see the cars easier? No, you have a hard time with cars. Mom doesn't like to hear that you can't see the cars. When I'm skiing, it makes it hard for me to see because there's people skiing in front of me and I have a hard time with that. So one of the things that happens with people, and Kyle has this, is they'll have areas of their vision in which they'll either be blind in that area or they'll have a neglect. Kyle has a neglect. Mm-hmm. So the right-hand side, he doesn't process the information in that side very well. So when he's skiing and someone suddenly cuts from the right-hand side, it's called looming. So suddenly there's someone in front of you and you don't know where they came from. So that can be very frightening. So Kyle has adapted. He always skis to the right-hand side of the ski slope, and then when he's with people, he will ski behind, you know, his teacher or a friend. He skis behind them and always makes sure that they're on the right-hand side. So
we have one more question for Kyle, but I would like to say that Kyle, you do Special Olympics, you put yourself out there and you do all kinds of stuff, and that makes me so proud of your bravery and your willingness to try things, even though it's hard. And I know being here today is not easy for you either, but I'm very happy that you said yes. The last question I have for you, and then Delia, you can hit up the last points you want to make. But okay. Kyle, is it hard? It is hard for you. Is it hard for you when there are lots of people? And how does CVI make it hard?
So he said, when I see people in person, I can only see a part of their face. When I look at their face, sometimes it's hard for me. So if you imagine you're looking at a face and all you can see is a person's teeth.
Oh yeah.
Or only one eye, or the nose. So, and then when you're in a group of people and there's multiple people and you can only see, this person you can only see teeth, am I correct, Kyle? And this person a nose, mm-hmm. You know, it becomes very disorienting.
Yeah, so very disorienting.
So what it results is in a lot of social anxiety.
Yeah.
A lot of social anxiety, and it's called propagnosia, and there are people who actually cannot see faces at all.
Yeah.
And so they don't. There was a famous book written about it. The man who mistook his wife for a
Yes, I know
So-
that book.
So that man had, his CVI was caused by a brain tumor.
He's a famous psychiatrist or psychologist who wrote
Neurologist. I think.
Neurologist. What
Neuro-
is it? Stack or
Zach, you know,
I'm forgetting.
Sachs.
Sachs. Oliver Sacks.
Oliver Sacks.
We share a brain eventually.
It's a fabulous book. If anyone's interested in brain development, it's an amazing, I mean, just the stories alone in that book. And so anyway, I had one last thing I just wanted to read. It's by, there's a woman called Christine Roman Lancey, and she's been a pioneer in CVI, and really she's developed a number of assessments that's made it possible. And she wrote, she did a little blog thing on CVI and autism, and she wrote, it is important that there is a correct diagnosis as interventions are different. This is when she's talking about CVI and autism and how there are many, I'm sure there are kids who have autism and CVI, but there are many kids who have autism who are being diagnosed with autism who actually have CVI
Yep.
and don't have autism. She says, people with CVI have a barrier to access. That's the key that children with CVI need. A program that provides visual access to learning. Without that, any autism intervention results in a change in behavior, but not an improvement in learning. And this is really important, I think, because these kids they're falling off. You know, they're not learning. They can't learn, and these are smart kids.
I know Kyle's smart, Sierra's smart. They have a lot of ambition and
A lot of potential.
A
That's
lot of
being missed.
potential.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
and-
So what is if you had to give advice to parents and to what advice you might think Kyle might give to other people out there? Your advice and I know you know what goes on in his head.
Right. Well, sometimes. Hopefully. So I would say that for many parents, if you are noticing that, or you have a question about your child's vision, keep pushing. Don't let anybody tell you that it's in your head. That because it is an important thing, and vision is so important for every aspect. And you know, someone asked me the other day, how does it affect Kyle? And I said, it affects everything, every moment of his day, and everything that he does. And you know, now that we know it's CVI, it gives him a relief,
Right.
because now he knows why, and now we can step in and help him learn how to accommodate him. We're not going to make it better, but we can accommodate to make it easier.
Right. That's
So.
excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough, Delia, for being here. And Kyle, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope that you will join us for Life on the Spectrum. And this was I've learned a lot. Now you've given me more to think about, like I didn't have enough already. So
Oh, sorry.
thank you for that.
Well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about CVI. I'm passionate about it, and getting the word out, I think it's
so important.
It is.
So important. And you two have been wonderful, and I can't thank you enough. And I'm going to give you a little round of applause there, Kyle. Thank you. All right. Take care, everybody, and we'll stay tuned for the next episode of Life on the Spectrum.